there once was a man named Job. He was blameless, a man of complete integrity. He feared God and stayed away from evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 teams of oxen, 500 female donkeys. And he was many, many servants. In fact, he was the richest person in the entire area. The man Job. And he had a tight family. His sons always got together, inviting the daughters of his daughters, the family, and they would party together just weekend after weekend. And you know, Job would get up in the morning, and he would sacrifice for them, for each of the 10 kids, just in case something naughty was going on in their heart. He was blessed with goods, blessed with workers and servants, and wealth, and the richest man in the region. The blessings came from God. Wasn't the devil. The blessings came from God. So Job one day, Job 1 chapter 1 verse 6, one day the members of the heavenly court came and presented themselves before the Lord. And the accuser, Satan, came with them. Where have you come from? The Lord asked Satan. Satan answered, I've been patrolling the earth, watching everything going on. And then the Lord asked, well, have you noticed my servant Job? He's the finest man in all the earth. He's blameless, a man of complete integrity. He fears God, stays away from evil. And Satan replied to the Lord, yeah, but Job has good reason to fear God. You've always put a wall of protection around him, in his home and his property, and you've made him prosper in everything he does. Look how rich he is. But, Satan says, reach out and take away everything he has, and he'll surely curse your face. All right. You can test him, the Lord said. Do whatever you want with his possessions, but don't harm him physically. So Satan left from the Lord's presence. And one day, as Job's sons and daughters were feasting at the oldest brother's house, a messenger arrived at Job's home with this news. Your oxen were plowing and the donkeys were feeding beside them when the raiders came and they stole all the animals and killed all the farmhands, and I'm the only one that has escaped to tell you. And while he was speaking, another messenger arrived with this news: the fire of God has fallen from heaven and has burned up your sheep and all your shepherds. I'm the only one who escaped to tell you. And while he was still speaking, a third messenger arrived with the news: 3 bands of raiders, Job, have stolen your camels and killed your servants. I'm the only one left who's escaped to tell you. And while he was still speaking, another messenger arrived with this news: your sons, your daughters were feasting in their oldest brother's home, and suddenly a powerful wind swept in from the wilderness to hit the house on all sides. It collapsed. All your children are dead. I'm the only one who escaped to tell you. Job stood up, tore his robe in grief, shaved his head, and fell to the ground to worship. He said, I came naked from my mother's womb, and I'll be naked when I leave. The Lord gave to me what he had, whatever I had, and the Lord's taken it away. Praise the name of the Lord. In all of this, Job did not sin by blaming God. What an incredible story in the Bible. We'll get into it just a little bit further, but we're talking about, first of all, let's talk about just this heavenly court. what the heck is going on there? You know, the members, they come and present themselves before the Lord. What's that all about? Is it like a meeting? Well, Satan's there with them. And in this text, you could see that Satan really is in full subjection to God. And God asked him, so where have you been? Well, Satan, one thing about Satan is he's keen to how things work. Very keen. Keen to how things work on earth. Keen to how things work in the heavens. He's keen because, obviously, he's patrolling the earth, watching everything going on, taking note, understanding. So he knows just how things work. And he knew that God made Job prosper. That God made Job prosper in everything he did. Man, wouldn't you like that? Whatever you invest in just goes. Whatever business you start, takes off. Everything he did, God made him to prosper. So Job knew. He understands all this. He also knew that God put a wall of protection around him. His home. All that he had. All that he possessed. His children. Just this wall of protection. Like a force field. And it's like, no, you're not going to touch it. No, the raiders aren't going to touch it. No, you're not causing anything to happen to these folks, devil. But Satan was convinced. Now remember, he's keen to how things work. And he's watched, he's patrolling, he's studying everything going on, absolutely convinced about something. People serve God because of the protection he provides, of the prosperity that he gives. I had my best disciple, and this happens to be true for a lot of people. A lot of people. My best disciple in Turkey. Just thinking about him, and you know, gosh, things went well. You know, he's on Jesus' side. Then all of a sudden he kind of backslid and pulls back and, you know, I don't want to serve Jesus. I think Allah can do more for me. Really? Yeah. Well, okay. Well, you go see what you can get from Allah, and you go your way. Best guy I had. You dropped off. So the devil's seen that. Are you serving God for prosperity? Are you serving God because of protection? Well, the devil's convinced most people are. He's also convinced that if you lose that, what God's given you, you'll curse God. You'll be mad at God. He's seen it happen to Satan. He's seen it happen again and again. And he'd done it to people before, and he was absolutely convinced, God, Job will curse your face. He's convinced about that. So, we read in the text, back-to-back hits. Something happens. You just learn about it. And then the next thing you know, you're hit with something else. You just learn, you're not even starting to work through these things. You haven't even filed it yet. You haven't even absorbed it yet. And now the next thing happens. And the next thing happens. And the next thing is back to back to back. You know, if things are happening back to back, guarantee you, there's demonic forces involved. Things happen, okay, yes. Back to back to back. Okay, something's wrong here. Really wrong. So, Job hits his first incredibly hard trial that absolutely nobody has gone through this from so much. Loving God. Everything's good. All of his kids love God. Everything's just going well. He's just really doing right in everything he does. So all this stuff hits back to back. Now, we don't know the period of time, but there seems to be not a whole lot of time before one day the members in chapter 2 of the heavenly court came again to present themselves before the Lord. The accuser, Satan, came with them. So chapter 2 says very much the exact same thing. So Satan, where you come from? Oh, I've been patrolling. Have you noticed my servant Job? Oh, yeah. I've noticed him. We'll pick it up there. Satan replied, well, reach out and take away his health. Reach out and take away his health. He'll surely curse your face. Okay, he made it through with the goods. But skin for skin, man. And surely he'll curse your face, God. God said, all right, give it a go. But spare his life. Don't kill him. So, Satan leaves the Lord's presence, and he struck Job with terrible boils from head to foot. And Job scraped his skin with a piece of broken pottery as he sat down among the ashes. Where's some ashes? Where's the latest? There's got to be some fire around here somewhere. There's one dead and sits in the middle of it. His wife said to him, are you still trying to maintain your integrity? Curse God and die. But Job replied, you talk like a foolish woman. Should we accept only good things from the hand of God and never anything a little hard or bad? So in all this, Job said nothing wrong. You know, Satan knew in this second trial that Job went through, he knew people, they may be all that, but when they're hurting in their flesh, they're not their best. In fact, some of them absolutely can lose it. You know, myself, I am not a star Christian when I'm not doing good physically. I'm just not. Are you? How many of you, when you're like throwing up or feeling bad, and you, just like, honey, just give me my Bible, and let me just, I just close it. I just want to lay hold of God. I'm sorry. Last week I'm laid up pretty much all week. And I'm thinking, I never even prayed. Never even touched my Bible. I didn't even think about it. I don't do good when I'm sick. Do you do really good when you're feeling bad? How many is that? Satan knows that. Absolutely knows that. So God, curse your face. So, he lost everything. Now he's lost his health. And he's scraping his skin with a piece of pottery. My goodness. The closest I could think of is, some of these, Zach calls them jiggers that bite you around your legs. And I must be allergic to them because I'm like my nails grow out to the point I'm almost bleeding. I just can't stand it. Who knows what I'm talking about? Scraping his skin with pottery, broken pieces, sitting in ashes, and his wife blows a fuse on him. Maintaining your integrity. Just curse God and die. I'm sick of looking at you. Sick of just you taking me through all this. Wow. But in both trials, Job never shut off his mouth. That's where the trouble begins. So much trouble when we just open our mouths. You just keep your mouth shut. Yeah, you would solve a lot of problems. Stop. Well, maybe not solve, but stop a lot of problems if we're definitely making things worse. But I can picture Satan. He's just got his ears wide open and he's listening. He's just waiting for Job to just bust up and unleash this string of curses. He never did. And in this text, you know what we see here? God boasting about Job. Satan, where have you been? Do you happen to catch my man Job? Finest man in all the earth. Do you happen to catch him? You see? Living for me and a man of complete integrity. Integrity is an important thing. You know what integrity is? Just doing what's right. You tell somebody you're going to do something, you ought to do it. Because you told them you're going to do it. It's just right. You don't back out. You don't find a way to squeeze out of it. Integrity. And in every way, just in everything, he just always did whatever was right and proper. That's integrity. God goes on to the finest man in all the earth. Complete integrity. Blameless. Nobody could say anything bad about Job. I don't hold that. Can't say that about myself. I'm sure God can't. He fears God. Stays away from evil. God said that. Job, my man, fears God, stays away from evil. You know, those two things go hand in hand together. The fear of God makes you stay away from evil. This is the man, finest man in all the earth, a man of complete integrity, blameless, fears God, stays away from him. This is the man that the Bible tells the story about that went through the absolute most hell any man could go through, and how it happened, the timing that it happened, the severity of it all. This is the man that went through the most hell. Now again, God makes something clear in these texts that we've read. He was a righteous, blameless man. Now, the point I'm making here is God wanted to make that really, really, really clear. Because our default thinking, when something hits, either you, someone else, our default thinking right off the bat, what have I done wrong? What'd you do wrong? Something had to be done wrong here. That's generally our thinking, isn't it? What have I done wrong? Right? And we scan ourselves. God, what have I done? I'm trying. And of course, it doesn't take long for us to find something. Of course we've done wrong. But God says in this text, none of this happened because of anything you did or anybody did. Even Job's best friends, when you go on to read the rest of the book, his very best friends, these are some wise, rich, also very wealthy men that were his very good friends. They knew him through and through. His very best friends. You know, Pablo, he knows me. And somebody could say something about me and say, no, Pastor Buchholz didn't say that. I know he did. Or Pastor Buchholz didn't do that. I know he did. The reason he could say it is because he knows me. Right? Well, their friends knew him. And even them, his very best friends, knowing him through and through, when you go on to read, so what'd you do wrong, Job? Confess and repent. We're here for you, but you got to come out with it. I mean, when you read the chapters after that, so Job's scanning himself. God, what have I done wrong? This is my pride. Scans himself. Other people are grilling him. And there has to be something that was done wrong here. But that isn't the case in the story, is it? In fact, this is the best guy to ever live. The finest man that God had, that was a feather in his cap. So, after they had come up with 0, as far as what we could think that he did wrong, then the next fast question behind that is, well, then why? For what purpose did this happen? How could God let this happen? It's so unfair. It's so just not right. What good could come out of this? 10 kids dead? Everything's gone? I'm in ashes and sick. See, we know what Job didn't know. Job didn't have the insight that we so quickly get when we read the story. Right off the bat. God tells us what's going on. But he didn't have that. He didn't know that Satan went before God and the conversation was like a challenge. God, I'm going to prove you wrong. For all these people in this court, I'm going to make you look like you're the evil one in Job's eyes. Watch. See, we know that right off the get-go. Job didn't. To him, it was like a lightning bolt out of the blue sky. And his whole life blows up. Absolutely blows up. But we know, no, this wasn't happen chance. This was demonic. And it was a test, it was a trial. It was for God to print in black and white for all of mankind to read. Because there's great, great truths coming out through this text. So what can we learn from Job? After this, he searched for God. At the time he lost everything, he searched for God and couldn't find God anywhere. Yet he never ceased to love, honor, and worship God. He knew God was still good. He knew God was still there. I can't see God, but he can see me. This is the mark of spiritual maturity. When everything goes wrong, but you stay right. An interesting note, just tuck into your backpack. Job's friends, they come to visit. Let me read it to you. And when the 3 of Job's friends heard of the tragedy and he had suffered, they got together and traveled from their homes to comfort and to console him. When they saw Job from a distance, they scarcely recognized him. They wailed loudly, tore their robes, and threw dust in the air over their head, just like to show their grief. And then they sat down with him for 7 days and nights. No one said a word to Job. They saw that his suffering was too great for words. So, to comfort and console, no words necessary. Just better. No words. Just be there. Just be there. There's nothing that can be said. no one said a word. Not, whoa, sorry about this, Job. Not even a word. They just saw him, sat with him. Just a good thing to know. Bottom line of this book, if you read it through, you and I, Job and his wise friends, they could not understand it. They couldn't file it. There was no place to file it. The next 39 chapters is human wisdom. That was so far from the truth. But they're giving it their best shots. And, I mean, it sounds good. In fact, I kind of have a hard time with God on that. God, am I supposed to read those 39 chapters or is it a waste of time? It's like, because our finite minds are unable. We just can't grasp it. And even if God did tell us, our brains are too small. They can't take it in. So God had had enough of this pontificating, each of them going to tell what they think, and then Job's telling what he thinks, and they're telling about 39 chapters of this stuff. Finally, God's had it up to here with this, says, y'all just shut up. I want him to peep out of your mouth. He slaps them all upside the head. You don't know anything. You think you do. You just don't know. And that's where it leaves us. We don't know. And we can't know. If God tell us we couldn't figure it out, we don't know. But what we do know is that millions, even billions of people that have read this story and seen Job's reaction have been encouraged. Millions. Anybody that's read the Bible has read this and they go, incredible. Incredible. And multitudes, maybe millions, have taken on the same position. I'm going to do what Job did in their situation. Or multitudes have taken on the same disposition as they walk into the situation that they know is going to get really, really tough. I'm just going to act like Job. Shut my mouth. Trust God. You know what you're doing, God. You know what you're doing. And I'm going to trust you. Now, that's not the last inning. You go to the back of the book, chapter 42. So, Job was ticked at his friends. And God said, Job, forgive him and pray for him. So, when Job prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes. God, the Lord gave him twice as much as before. The Lord blessed Job in the second half of his life, even more than in the beginning. For now he had 14,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 1,000 teams of oxen, 1,000 female donkeys, exactly double what he had before. He also gave Job 7 more sons, 3 more daughters, the most beautiful daughters in the land. And Job lived to see 4 generations of his children and grandchildren. Died an old man who lived a full life. Don't worry, you are not Job. Okay? And you're not going to go through anything close. The story's already been wrote. God has printed what he wanted the world to know, and So we got the general understanding of how the spiritual world works in this arena. And just learn by Job. Take his position, take at least his disposition. Do you belong to the Lord tonight? Or you pray for Satan? For God's people, we'll never understand. Now, I have a way of dealing with things. I have my spin that I put on things. When someone's going through it or I'm going through it, I always seem to have the same kind of spin on the ball. God, what's happening now is going to play out in a really good way in the future. That's all I know. I just put that spin on. Somehow it's going to twist. Twist. It's a curveball for us, but it's going to twist for the good in the future. And of course, I've been around. You know, I've been living for God now for since last Friday. 47 years of living for God. Praise God. However, I've seen some things that have rang my bell. And I've watched men of God go through things. It's like, whoa. You know, Artie Aragon's son passing away, going home from Prescott Conference, gets in an accident and dies. Artie Aragon. But listen to the guy preach today. Gabriel, man I preached for in Colorado, his daughter and him, they went to an outreach for another church and did the outreach on that night. They had a music scene, so him and his daughter rapped together. But in that afternoon, she happened to be the president of her class that was graduating. And so he went her out and he bought her a dress for the graduation. They had just a really, really close day, daughter-father day. So after the music scene, they're driving home. And so she's in the car behind them with two other teenage girls, and they're in the van. And so, you know, they're on their way home, just getting out of town, and they go through through a green light. But he looks in the back in his rearview mirror, and he saw slam, a drunk, just driving out and out crazy. Completely ran the red light, hit them. All the teenagers instantly killed. Very obvious. He saw it all in the rearview mirror. Pulls over and he goes, and of course he glances, and there's no hope. They're obviously dead. He starts preaching. That's my daughter in there. The crowd just grew, and and that girl, and just the influence she had, and Tim Tebow made a video for her to show at the school for just her testimony and all that she had done. She was trying to get him to come to speak. He couldn't make it, but he made a video, and just the impact of that upon that entire city and that school. Joe Campbell, I remember him, and he's a good preacher. Somehow, and Kaylin can vouch for this. She wants to scale walls. When we're going hiking, I don't want to climb this wall. So you're not doing it. But Dad, I know. Don't even think about it. You're not doing it. And she knows why. Because Joe Campbell's daughter was scaling a wall and she fell to her death. 16-year-old daughter. But listen to Joe Campbell preach. Captivates people. Captivates them. Powerful kerthunk. Kiko. It's a man in, I get there the week after this as well. And Artie Aragon's son, Gabriel, the accident with the daughter behind. I'm there the very next week preaching a revival for all these. I don't know, God's given me that ministry, whatever it is. I don't want it, but I'm there. And so, Kiko, his son is 19-year-old kid, playing drums in church. Didn't get up Sunday morning service. Didn't get up. And he's gone. They don't know why. Perfectly healthy young boy. They just don't know why. Just never woke up. All incredible men of God. Somehow, and I don't know all the details, but all I know is God's very, very good. He doesn't just delight in tragedy, hardships, suffering. He doesn't. There's something going on, and we can't peg it, but there's something going on that's greater, to where God's glorified. And I'm telling you, he's so proud of Job. So proud of all of these men that just go on and they just live for him. They don't question. They just live for him, and just the Job thing. God, you gave it to me. You gave them to me. You take them. Thanks for giving me for at least that time. They were good kids. Just Job. And look what God does. But look what happened in the heavenly realm. And look what happened with the printed word. You know, I've heard across the world, literally other side of the world, we're praying for Gabriel. But added to that, oh my God, what Catherine's going through, John's going through, it makes my very serious trouble, hardships, seem so small. I can make it. On the other side of the world. You never know. Encouraged to keep going, keep believing. You never, ever know. God does. We don't. Let's leave it there. Father, we ask you, God, to burn